So this is how Oden's adventure began, and also how he met the woman who would later on become his wife, Toki, and also revealed that she really did came from 800 years ago. And while I wonder if I'm still should do reviews like this, I wonder really what we are up to next. The Angry Anime Fan, and this is the One Piece chapter 964. First off, the cover page details, well, the germ pirates apparently infecting people with kiss germ. Is that how this sucking up Kiryu is infecting everything? Either way, Oden still tells the Whitebeard pirates that he wants to sail with them, even though they're pretty upset for him attacking their captain and trying to kill them. But now they seem to have become friends enough to actually, well, eat along. But Whitebeard actually for the first time refused, simply because he didn't feel like, well, not only because of that, but he felt like Oden was some guy who was not be content with being a follower. I mean, in a way that is true. Oden was a guy kind of larger than life. He wanted adventure, but he wasn't content with following him. But the interesting part is here that Whitebeard, offhand, he doesn't of course mention the rocks per se, but he does say that I know what happens when a bunch of people like that band together with those that are not content with being a follower. Last crew I was part of had that frustrating issue, and that was absolutely the Rocks Pirate, implying that every single one of the Rocks Pirates didn't want to be a follower. I mean, that makes sense. Big Mom, Kaido, Shiki, and all those things were people who did not really want to be a follower. But it still doesn't really answer the question, then why did they form a crew at the first place? Well, I mean, was Rocks really that powerful, or was there some other issue? Regardless, some pirates' minds can be strange. Of course, Oden just simply wanted to sail out because he couldn't sail out himself. He wanted to see the world. It is actually, in a way, a bit emotional that that Oden was really wanted to go out in the sea. And it's also showing a little bit seen on how good friends Marco was with Inu and Neku, and who always talked about countless islands. So in the end, though, the Whitebeard pirates try to leave the place at night, but Odin used a chain to the mast in order to hang on. And who was the one who followed with him in order to stop him? Well, that was Iso. As we all know, Iso in the present time became the 16th commander of the Whitebeard pirates. So the biggest question was here, why did he suddenly join the Whitebeard pirates? And while it's still not exactly known why he chose to keep on being with the Whitebeard pirates and not return to Wano, it is shown that the reason why Iso followed with Oden here was that he knew that Oden would try to get on the ship. So he tried to stop Oden to do that, but Oden was stubborn, always hanging on to that chain. And even though and so Whitebeard pulled up Iso, but not Oden, who was later on missing of it all. But despite everything else, the Whitebeard still refused Oden to get on board. So in the end, he decided to test Oden. That Whitebeard didn't want a wild person like that into his crew, because it could endanger his family. It's a little bit ironic considering the people he later on took in, but hey, it really did show that Whitebeard was a family man, so it makes sense. So he gave Oden an ultimatum: hang on to that chain for the next 3 days. If you can, then I'll let you join. And so Oden did his best. And it's worth noting that at first the crew, of course, mocked him that. But when they kept on seeing just how determined Oden was, they actually became pretty enchanted. This almost goes hand to hand in the Kawawaka Kingdom. You know, back then when Bon Clay encouraged Luffy many thought it was really a lost cause. But eventually even they encouraged Luffy because they were encouraged by Bon Clay. And then they saw just how strong Luffy's will truly was. They were entranced by him as well. It just shows that Oden and Luffy were so very true. And for the next 3 days and only 1 hour left, Oden still hang on. But now he was bruised up, barely breathing and everything else. Even though Iso, still tied up, said that if he dies I will never forgive you. But then we're switching to an unknown island where a woman wielding a samurai sword is confronted by pirates who actually belong to a familiar face. And who was that lady? Well, she looks like a spitting image of her daughter. And fittingly, she is also 26, in this flashback at least. Yeah, that was Toki, or as she was known as back then, Amatsuki Toki, who somehow ended up on this island even though she didn't want to. She surprisingly wanted to come to Wano because she was from Wano, and she had a short kimono, a very short kimono, and a samurai sword. I wonder exactly if that blade looks familiar if I think about it. Not exactly known though. I mean, this still doesn't really answer the question who Toki was, but it does seem to imply that Toki was always a Wano person. But she just skipped the time. And the ones who scared away the pirates were actually Oden, who appeared from the ocean, badly swollen up and completely obese. And I mean, one could argue, did he eat that much? I mean, I don't think so. I think he was just so badly bruised after all the ordeals that he was swollen. And Odens was gone, but he recovered the following day thanks to Toki taking care of him. And that is how Toki and Oden met. As even though he was saddened that he had let go of the chain, he was now going to start his own adventure. Although it's kind of funny of the fact that the first person he met was not only a beautiful woman, but also someone who wanted to come to Wano. Kind of ironic, really. And who belonged to, and who was the captain of that pirate crew that actually wanted to take Toki and sail her to slavery? It's worth noting how much they say that the fact that they are that she talking about human traffickings is pretty strange. To the fact, does that mean that human trafficking was also started 800 years ago? I mean, I know it was, or well, these pirates were violent, but it's kind of ironic though that that the captain of this crew was none other than Captain Karma, a strange man with an octopus-like hair and 6 arms. And according to media, from what I have heard, that man is supposedly a fishman. But to be honest, I mean, yes, he has the octopus hair, and yes, he has 6 arms, but he doesn't really look like a fishman. Granted, he doesn't really look like a human. I mean, other can suggest that maybe he's a devil fruit user of the octopus fruit. But no, according to media, from what I have heard, Karma is actually a fishman. Just a very human-looking fishman. And it's kind of strange, though, that someone who would later on join with Whitebeard was a cruel pirate. Either way, Whitebeard appeared on that island, scared away the pirates, and in the end said that you are free to go on this adventure time. And who else has snuck on board the ship? Well, after being entranced by Marco's story, it was none other than Ino Arashi and Nekomamushi. It makes sense, though, since they also mentioned they were on that ship. And Izo was also on that ship because of that. And Toki decided to sail with them because even though she wanted to go to Wano, she realized she couldn't go anywhere else. And so all this adventure began. How we traveled to many different islands, many familiar ones to be honest. Man-eating plants, giant koalas, and even a character who I think was Little Ors Jr. I mean, was that Little Ors Jr.? He actually looked kind of different, but the head and the hair almost look similar. I mean, it can't be Kaido. That can definitely not be Kaido. and many of the people. Oden mentioned just how much of a tiny fish he was in a very, very big pond. And in a way that is actually kind of nice to see. It really shows that Odin acknowledged he knew nothing of the world, and the more he saw of it, the more stronger he got, and the more he was entranced by it. He liked what he saw. He liked this new world. What he saw was everything. And Toki revealed she was 26 years old, but she was born 800 years ago, but of course no one believed her. And so the chapter ends with two young cabin boys mentioning on how much the Whitebeard pirates are getting famous, even though they are the ones getting hayway. And that is of course Buggy and Shanks, as we see a younger looking Roger, his mustache not as wide as before, saying that he wants to meet this pirate, or this samurai, so to speak. This seems to imply that he met Oden way before that, because if you notice, his mustache is not as curly as it was later on. But this was the great pirate Gold Roger when he was in his prime. Of course, One Piece will be on a break next week, and I likely won't review as much chapters as much as we can do anymore. Not to mention the fact that soon there's Christmas, meaning we're even gonna have even more breaks. However, this is the Whitebeard chapter of the story. Now we will soon enter the Roger story. We have been introduced to Toki, and what awaits next, I have no idea. All in all, I wouldn't say it's an extreme satisfying chapter, but it does answer the question on how, how Oden met Toki, how he joined up with Whitebeard, how Izuo became a member of the Whitebeard, and most of all, how Neko and Inu were on the ship. So give me your thoughts if you have any.